Hey yo, what it div, y'all? Let's get right into it. It's time for me to go ahead and showcase the character, as this is the end of day 3 for me, and it's done, quite frankly. All that's really left is getting a mage blood and perfecting individual slots on the build, which I might not even get to. Who knows? This video should contain all of the information really needed to get this character like fully blasted, not including like previous videos worth of information. So if you still need that information, or you're just simply at an earlier progression point, the other videos for this character will also be linked down below in the description. And as always, feel free to ask any questions that you might need to ask, whether that be in the comments or on my Discord or in my stream, all of which down below, right? Appreciate y'all for getting me to 500 followers on Twitch. Massively appreciate y'all for that. Now, let's actually talk about how this character has really evolved through day 3 to become the absolute beast that we all know Penance brand of Dissipation to truly be. The first of the big changes made to this character, it is now a proper full charge stacker, right? All of the pieces are on as opposed to yesterday's video where not every piece was on, and this took 2 sets of gear swaps, simply due to them being kind of interdependent on one another, right? One, we had to get Void Battery equipped because that item is broken, but our current main hand is a Bitter Dream, and that's what's giving us our links. So we need to get a 6-link chest, which, while it can be Vol's Protector, there are better chest pieces, especially since we have Badge and Relicash already. I want Replica Restless Ward for the insane movement speed that it provides, because the actual value of Frenzy Charges does not change due to how Badge of the Brotherhood works as a hard set value instead of an addition subtraction value. So we have to change off of Vol's Protector, which means that we lose Inner Conviction. So we need a Militant Faith with Dominus as the general line so we can turn any Keystone into Inner Conviction for us. All of these purchases need to be made together, right? You do not need a Corrupted Replica Restless Ward, as you'll see in my POB, but you just need to have a Replica Restless Ward, or again, any 6-link, could even be a Tabula Rasa if you really needed it to be, Void Battery, and a Militant Faith. Boom. All right, that's set 1. Much better damage improvement than what set 2 gave me, but notably more expensive, right? Set 2 of changes is just putting on Graven's Secret finally over the heavy belt that we currently have on, right? Which, by the way, you can only put on Graven's Secret if you actually have Relocations and Patience on. If you do not have Relocations and Patience, this belt bricks your damage. Be aware of that, right? But you have Relocations and Patience on already if you're at this point. So now we can put that on. Our Time Clasp in ring slot 1, no longer really necessary, right? It's just cast speed and duration. It's just a filler ring, which we actually also needed to remove it again for a different reason anyways, right? But we can just replace that with a ring with good strength, dex, and cast speed on it. Then we could also replace Voidbringer with the glove that has dex and a resistance, or dex and strength, either or. And now our belt can be replaced with Graven's Secret freely. It's also worth noting that the rare glove that we're using can carry Eldritch Implicits, so we can get Fizz conversion on the Eater side and Unnerve or Damage for Frenzy on the Exarch side. It's worth noting, by the way, for the conversion, Fizz to Lightning is stronger than Fizz to Cold, but both are fine. Would not settle for any other modifiers, by the way. Like, those are the 2 things you want. In both cases, you can just use Lesser, Ichors, and Embers, although when I was purchasing, they were basically all 3 Chaos per, from Lesser to Grand. So, you know, use your judgment when you actually go make these purchases, right? Now, both of these swaps are accompanied by tree adjustments and whatnot, but like, look at the PLB if you need to see that. I'm just saying. I also want to include a note here, because even though this is a diary of how I'm doing it, right? Like, this is a 3-part showcase process of me making the character. I have gotten a number of questions about people who don't have Relocations and Patience and how they should be progressing. And I kind of just want to recommend you to improve on slots that actually are usable after getting Relocations anyways, right? So that means don't put too much into your amulet or your belt, or a shield or a second wand, because it's going to get replaced when you get Relocations, except for maybe a second Void Battery, but that's pretty pricey, right? That's like a third of a Relocations and Patience right there. So on that vein, I can't give you every specific recommendation that I do have, because I didn't sit down and think about these potentialities before the event. I just kind of settled on I would farm Relocations as soon as possible. And that's going to be the recommendation I give you, by the way. But if you want to get some upgrades because you feel like your character needs a little bit more power, I'm going to have in the description my Hierophant from BPL, where you can see the gear that I did opt for before I had Impatience, because I actually didn't get Impatience in that event for quite a while, right? Now, that said, again, don't spend too much money on these things, because imagine if you spend like 15, 20 div there, you could have just gotten another 6 to 10 div and bought Ralokesh's Impatience. See what I'm getting at? Just, get the boots. They're good for you. Now, speaking of things that are usable on every version of the build, clusters, y'all. That's something that will definitely carry across if you want to make the build feel better, but you can't quite afford Ralokesh's yet, but you just need a little bit of a boost. The only thing that you really need is 3 medium brand clusters that have Remarkable on them, but you want to make sure you have other stuff so you don't just like gut your single target in the process of getting it. But we do love this stuff because having 3 Remarkables means that you will have over 100% chance to spawn an additional brand when you cast a brand. Which means that, press once 2 brands show up. Imagine how good that would feel for mapping. You're actually seeing it right now, right? It's going to feel great. Now, I would check the POV for exactly my clusters, but it's worth noting that those are the best clusters in terms of the mediums, Grand Design and Remarkable. Remarkable and other notables is fine, but Grand Design is notably better than the rest of the field. I'm just going to put it where it is for a second. And then large wise, I opted for Blanket Snow as my only notable that I'm actually clicking because it's stronger than 2 other notables at my state. But you can also get like a Fist 3 notable or a like Elemental 3 notable, etc. There's a number of different options. The large is not nearly as important as the mediums are because we're using the clusters mostly for the play improvement, not the damage. Damage wise, by this point, I was going crazy, right? So about the play. Now, in terms of getting the clusters in, I have a quick recommendation in terms of either the fact that I cut a lot of survivability personally to put my clusters in, or if you just have less levels but you're trying to put in clusters, go one by one. You do not need to have every cluster thing in all at once. You can't just put in 1 medium cluster and then eventually 1 large that you put a medium into, right? Like you can go piece by piece. And 2 is that I did cut life nodes instead of, say, the mana mastery, because I am using an Onslaught Spectre instead of a Aura Spectre, which would then free up 50% of your mana so you can put more that stuff back on your mana and untake those 3 points to use them elsewhere, right? Just some recommendations to help you, fit the clusters in, however you may see fit. It could also just be go get more levels. I'm just saying. Now, since I mentioned my Spectres, I do actually have a couple notes for you about the actual minions that I have in use. As you see, I have 2 Spectres and I have an AG, right? All this information is in the POB, so I'm going to kind of just quickly breeze through it here. You can get the write-up will be down in the POB, right? I've been using the same Spectres this entire time, which is just Perfect Pain Artist and Perfect Forest Warrior. You can use Perfect Forest Tiger, Spirit of Fortune, or Hydra. All aura pets, by the way, have to be perfect in order to actually get the aura. Pick any 2. It's really dealer's choice. In terms of highest damage, Pain Artist and Spirit of Fortune is going to be the biggest damage increase just because they both have effects beyond the actual auras they provide. I use Forest Warrior over one of them because I like the permanent onslaught, and that's just the price I'm willing to pay for it, right? I also can recommend Forest Tiger pretty highly if you just want to get the 155 dex requirement from haste out of the picture, because it should reduce your dex requirement to something closer to like 111 instead of 155, which might be notably easier for you to gear around. Now, onto my AG. I have a fairly high budget setup, I have almost everything from the high budget setup on. I'm currently just waiting on Crown of the Tyrant to actually exist. And I haven't bought a Legacy of Fury because I just don't care enough right now. It was a little bit more pricey than I wanted to pay for it because I know it's not going to give me that much damage. I'm much more interested in Crown of the Tyrant, but that item did not exist when I was putting this together. Is what it is. But it's completely worthwhile using this on a budget setup. I do have one note about not skimping out on Gruffcole's Pelt though, as Gruffcole's Pelt just completely trivializes the use of Guardian's Blessing. Much better. Make sure your Guardian's Blessing is level 1, by the way, when you're testing this. I've heard a couple of people who did have their Guardian's Blessing leveled and then were wondering why their things were dying so quickly. You will accidentally kill your AG if you level it too soon. So beware of that, right? Both sets of gear will be included in the PLB. I just wanted to talk about this a little bit, and it's worth noting that you can go from low level to high level just by literally taking the gear piece, dropping it on the ground, and overwriting what was already in the AG by clicking the AG button on it again. So that way it'll just upgrade its gear. You don't get the item back, but it's worth doing anyways. I also made a couple of small adjustments to the character, including a big oversight correction. Actually, like I mentioned earlier, that time class needed to be removed for a different reason. This is that reason. I forgot that time class actually adds duration to lightning warp, and so it was just making it slower. Shield charge and faster attacks over lightning warp, which then no longer is needed after taking off the time class, but I can't put it back on, lightning warp back on right now anyways, because I need the sockets still for what I'm doing. So is what it is there, right? Other than that, Summon Stone Golem got changed out for Animated Guardian, and we also made some room to go low life so that we could put Petrified Blood on and put Herald of Purity on our Arrogance. One last change worth noting here before I start to talk about like money related things is that I am no longer using Changing Seasons in my Ascendancy. We are now using Sea Legs, and it's just because I'm not self-chilling. And I have no plan of self-chilling either. I can't think of a good way to do it without self-casting FR, and I'm not doing that. So I would rather just have more resistances to work with and a little bit of extra crit chance. It's just comfier that way, I guess. At least the Ascendancy note is actually doing something for me, right? Last thing before we go in game, and I do a quick demonstration or two of the character, is I want to talk about Sanctum relics, as I am in fact now blasting comfortably in 83s. Actually, I was at the time I posted yesterday's video even, but it's just gotten so much better after today's upgrades. So I went ahead and finally invested in my relics. I am using the Quant relic setup from my comprehensive guide. That will be in the description if you want to see that information, as well as any other farming setups that are in there, or even just like learn more about Sanctum, right? It's a full long video, timestamped out and everything. Go get the information you need from it, right? This costed a little bit to get set up. Like I think the relics themselves were like 3 to 4 div each, but it was very, very worth it. It's, you got to invest in your strategies, guys. I know we love to out and go here, but a little bit of investment does really like up the profits. Now, while I'm talking about making money in Sanctum, before we actually go in game, I just want to note that I've been hearing that every tone level is actually still profitable. You just make your money a little bit differently depending. The lowest level, if you're still in 68, 69, 70, a lot of your money right now is coming from dropping like the Night Lamp and a little bit of currency here, there, and occasional divines to give you spikes over your cost, right? If you are running in the 75 area, it's mostly the same case, except you are also then maybe even seeing Chains of Castigation occasionally. And so you're like in your currency values are a little bit higher. So it's helping like offset that a little bit. And then 80, 81 through 83, we're all playing basically the same game up here. So you don't need any special codifications here. Now, let's get in game. All right, we're back one more time from the base of operations here in our little Sanctum hole, right? One, you can see the insane amount of buffs, right? Like this is the Kingmaker buffs, and from the AG and whatnot, you can see these 2 buffs are from my Spectres. You see we're really decked out in here, right? We're up to level 95 now, approaching 96. You can't see it, but I'm 57% of the way through the level. The goal is going to probably be like 97 by the time I finish Mage Blood realistically, which doesn't really matter. We're not really trying to get more damage. I'm just trying to blast more, like I said. Gear wise, you'll see it's looking fantastic, right? Void Battery, the shield, all that stuff. The Replica Restless Ward, which this corruption is compulsory, by the way. I just got it because it was the cheapest 6-link available, was this corruption instead of the mana. So sure, why not? I suppose. And then, ring, worth noting, the quality here is not necessary. It is something that I did because it allowed me to free up more points, right? Everything about this is about trying to get as many of my points back as possible, which is also why we're going to be converting to Sea Legs, which is worth noting. I made the note about Sea Legs earlier, but I haven't actually done it in game. It was something I realized as I was writing for this video that I'm going to convert Changing Seas into Sea Legs. And it's specifically because I want to change this Lightning Res roll on here to Fire Res and craft on Strength instead of crafting on Res, so that I can, as I said earlier, free up of strength points so I could do other things on the tree, right? We do a lot here to try to free up space, and the gloves really help with that a lot. Worth noting, don't unsocket, if you have your Spectre gear, beware, you don't want to accidentally unsummon these pieces of shit and then have to go buy them again. Even though they're only like 5 to 30 chaos each, it's just annoying. Gravin's Secret, it's worth noting this can be gotten with corruptions. When I bought it, the corruptions didn't really exist. But, you know, hatred, any of our R's effect on them, beautiful. Moves be doing flash effect, beautiful, etc. Right? All that good stuff. Flash wise, I finally did some things with my flash. Not really rolled them, but just like made them like a little less questionable. I no longer am running double life flask, as I don't need to be mitigating like the shock from my shield or something anymore. And so instead, I have a bismuth that is literally only here to be used in case I reflect a freeze onto myself. Highly recommend this idea, by the way. Or then I have my sulfur for a little bit of extra damage, and then 2 quicksilvers. Like, I don't know, there's not a whole lot to do with flasks unless you buy unique flasks, and I didn't think they were worth the money, so I haven't bought them yet, right? You see the low life, you see the tree, it, you know, normal stuff here. Really, this is like quite standard, if I'm being honest. I do want to at some point buy a better Militant Faith. I kind of just bought the first Militant Faith I could find that fit the does not corrupt this node or this node requirement, which I no longer even need to protect Heart of Ice. I only need to protect instability. I just took the first one that fit these qualifications so I could get it purchased and get moving. So I can, you know, get inner conviction. But I would like to get one that has like, you can get res, you can get R effect, you can get brand damage, you can get mana cost. Mana cost doesn't matter as much here, but like, just saying, there are good modifiers for 10 devotion, and you get 100 devotion, so times 10 on those values actually makes this like worth getting a little bit more from if you can. But the devices from Shield, by the way, is definitely making my EB much more comfortable to work with. You can see like it actually adds a little bit, just a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit, right? Otherwise, not a whole lot to be said here that hasn't already been said. I can show you guys my relic setup. You see here, I am just wearing quant relics. I'm only at 80% quant total right now. I want a little bit more to really guarantee outside of Enchanted Urn, but you know, prices are prices at the moment, is what it is. Can't really do anything about that. And that's everything, honestly. If there's anything that you feel like I didn't cover in the video that you still have questions about, or if you just need some general advice or whatever it may be, feel free to either stop by the stream or drop it in the comments or even in the Discord. I will, you know, make sure to see it and answer at some point. Or if you're on stream, it'll be on stream, obviously. But if you're in the Discord or in the comments, I'll make sure I like get around to it, right? I hope you guys have been enjoying the build. I know for sure that I have been. And in case you're curious about what's going next, we've got a Mage Blood first to farm, and then I will make plans from there in terms of either what I'm going to do with this character or if I plan to, you know, re-roll. Who knows what's going to be coming next. Thank you guys for watching. Very much appreciate the, you know, support on the videos this weekend. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.